Over the past couple of years, I have added the best hit songs or the best popular songs of each year to my year-end list repertoire. However, I only started this in 2022, so you can probably see where this is going to go. I was thinking, why not work my way backwards and make this a thing and go back to like 1955 if people are interested? Why friggin' not? But for now, I thought, why not start with 2021, which is the year that I missed, and just, work my way back and see if people are interested. See if people are interested in this video, see what the response is like, and perhaps we can make this a continuation where I just work back and do each year and talk about the 10 best popular songs of that year. Does it sound good to you? I feel like it's a fun little idea. And the interesting thing about doing this as well is that I'm not doing it as the year has ended. So there is more room for hindsight. There is more room for looking back on a song and seeing if it's grown on me or if it's changed or if it's sounding better now, if it maybe even sounds worse now than it did then. It's all exciting, isn't it? So let's test the waters with this, see how this one goes, and perhaps we'll continue this even further. But for now, I want to start with mentioning my Patreon, as I like to do. Support me over on there. It would help videos like this. It would help the channel grow even further. It would be wonderful to see. And of course, you get your own perks as well. You get Discord an invite to the Discord. You can be on the Discord immediately. I'll get you over on there. And also, you'll get shout outs as well at the end of big videos like this. So any extra perks that you want to be a part of, go check it out. Go click the link. And it would be wonderful to see more support over on that. So here we are, the top 10 best popular hit songs of 2021 in my opinion. The only real major criteria here is that it had to be a hit song in the year of 2021, mainly in the UK. I do tend to focus more on the UK because I'm British obviously, but if it's a worldwide global smash hit as well, I'm more than happy to include it because it was a hit. A hit is a hit, and that is it. That is it basically. It can come out in any year. If it's a hit in that particular year, it makes it onto this list. That is how it works for me. This is how I do it. So there we go. Top 10 best hit songs of 2021. In my opinion, it's all, of course, my opinion. You may agree, you may disagree. I'm going to start with a couple of honourable mentions, as I like to do. And the two honourable mentions come in the form of SZA. SZA gets two shout-outs here. Obviously, her track Good Days, which ended up being on the album at the end of 2022, of course. Really, really lovely R&B track, this one. I do think maybe some of these tracks from this era of SZA are growing on me a little bit more than I initially gave them credit for. I do like Snooze a lot more now as well, but that wouldn't obviously constitute for this list. But I'm just kind of giving you a bit more background on this SOS era of SZA. But Good Days, lovely, lovely track. Vocal performances are really warm and lush on this one. And the other track, as you probably could guess because I said SZA, is the track with Doja Cat, Kiss Me More. Just a really playful track, so fun, so bouncy, so carefree, really silly with the lyrics, doesn't really take itself too seriously, but it's bloody catchy. And the irony is that Doja Cat herself probably doesn't even like the song anymore, to be honest with you. So she said it herself. She thinks this whole era was just a sellout era and anyone that ate into it was just being stupid. I don't care, man. Doja Cat was probably just trolling that whole thing anyway. This was a good pop song. You can't deny it. Straight into the list now at number 10, we got Telepatia by Kali Uchis. Just so wonderful to see Kali Uchis get a major hit, and since then she's had a few others too that have really become global successes, which is great to see. Of course, we're seeing this era of Latin singers become way bigger than they used to be. It's a pretty cool thing nowadays with the streaming era, seeing these artists kind of rise to the top, because obviously a lot of pop music tends to be very American, British based, and that's all we ever really see, apart from the odd song that breaks out, like a Despacito, for example. But nowadays, there is a huge pool of artists, and Kali Uchis has snuck her way into that by having hits added to her repertoire with songs like Telepatia. Just a really wonderful, lush, delicate track with just gorgeous vocals. Like, you cannot deny how good of a singer Kali is, and her most recent album actually has helped me realize that she probably is up there, one of the best singers around at the moment, and yet you never see her in those conversations. But songs like Telepatia really proved that point really well. Yeah, beautiful stuff. Anyone that had followed her from the beginning with some of those early features or the Isolation album knew that there was a hit maker there. It was just a matter of time before we finally started to see the hits come, and Telepatia being one of her biggest ones ever, and so deserved. At number 9, we've got an artist that was a huge hit maker in the 2010s and one of the biggest artists in the world, but it seems as though we've reached the 2020s and somehow she has become bigger than she ever was and is now quite easily the biggest artist in the world by so many metrics that you can look at. You cannot really go a day without seeing some headline with her involved in. And yeah, it's bizarre because she was already massive, but she's kind of reached a point of like no return now. And it might have been because she remade literally every single album this decade that she ever made. That has probably helped her numbers grow even further. But I digress. Yeah, you knew what I was talking about here, man. Taylor Swift's All Too Well 10-minute version became a record-breaking hit here because we hadn't ever had a 10-minute song reach number 1 before. Of course, this was an existing song by a huge artist, so, you know, it kind of had a bit of a head start to get to number 1 over other songs, obviously, but still an impressive achievement nonetheless. Taylor Swift's All Too Well 10-minute version adds a lot more detail to the original track, and the original track, by the way, being one of her best songs ever, and still to this date, still today, it's, for me, is got to be up there with one of her best ever songs. I think a lot of Taylor Swift fans would be okay with that comment as well. It's not exactly a hot take or a controversial take to say, but adding that extra detail gave it this new light, gave it this new drama added into the Taylor Swift lore, and gave everyone a reason to bash Jake Gyllenhaal, for God's sake. Poor Jake. But anyway, yeah, can't really deny it, to be honest with you. If you're already aware of how good this song is, adding minutes to it isn't really going to take away from the fact that it's a great song. My only thing is that I probably won't go back to this one in the same way I would the standard like 4-ish minute version, to be honest with you. I think she's kind of cramming in extra details for the sake of it. Once you get to like the 5-minute mark, you kind of just like, okay, Taylor, you're just telling us anything this for the sake of it at this point. Come on, man, let's wrap it up now. But even still, doesn't change the fact that the core track, the core elements of vocal performance, everything about the song is still ridiculously top notch. So yeah, it's a great moment in Taylor's history, and yeah, she's just going to continue making massive hits from here on out, isn't she? She's just unstoppable. And I promise you I didn't intentionally put these two next to each other. I promise you, it is just lined up that way. But at number 8, we have potentially the next in line for the new Taylor Swift of our generation, which is a weird thing to say because there's no knocking Taylor Swift off her perch anytime soon, but I think she's kind of next in line to be that artist. The really detailed songwriting about breakups and emotion, and the way she sings and the way that she appeals to such a typical young audience, generally female audience, is just all the makings to be the next artist to follow this kind of tradition of the new singer-songwriter it girl of the generation. And I am not really counting her out anytime soon. I think she's got two really popular albums under her belt at this point that have done really well for her, and I can't see her slowing down anytime soon. But this is why hindsight for these videos is going to be good, because if you'd asked me in 2021 what my top 10 pop songs of the year were, this wouldn't have made the list. I wasn't really that interested in Olivia Rodrigo or this song that much at the time. However, hindsight has given me a new look into this song, and it's actually really bloody good. Like, it's still not an album that I go back to, and I still think Sour isn't great, to be honest with you, but Deja Vu is holding up incredibly well. The writing is really powerful. For a young person to hit these kinds of levels of emotion and maturity, I think is super strong. I think it's surprising that you don't really hear songs like this at all, but it seems like such a simple concept of this idea that a guy It's essentially replaced a girl with a like-for-like replacement, and is doing the exact same things that he did to her as Olivia got treated as well. And it's kind of just this cycle continuing of this guy essentially using girls and maybe just, you know, finding ways to lure them in using similar tactics. And yeah, it's a pretty clever song. It's a pretty smart song. It shows how aware Olivia is at such a young age of these kinds of things. And yeah, I still think there's a way to go for her to mature and to hit those really, really, really huge heights that she could. But you have to factor in that she was a teenager when she was writing these, so God knows how good she can get in like 4 or 5 years. I have high hopes. I do the same thing I told you that I never would. I told you I changed even when I knew I... At number 7, we've got Kid Laroi and Justin Bieber with one of the most fun, catchy, sprightly tracks of the 2020 so far. It's just so upbeat. It's just so ridiculously catchy. The chorus is absolutely an earworm. This song just gets stuck in my head so often. And even if I haven't played it in like weeks and weeks, it still will just pop in my head. It's just one of those tracks that is ingrained in my brain. And I couldn't not include it here. It's so really good. I really like Kid Laroi in this track as well. I think he adds a lot of character to the song. Obviously Justin Bieber's pretty good too, probably one of the best Justin Bieber songs ever, if I'm being honest. I've never been the biggest fan of the Biebs, but he really got me on board with this one. I do like the comparison that my friend Harry made about how this is basically like a pop version of a Drain Gang song. If you listen to that instrumental, it honestly really could be something that Blade could sing over. Like I hear it, man, and making that a mainstream hit is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm always here for stay. The next one, guys, at number 6, is a little bit of a naughty one. It's very naughty. Have you ever thought about lap dancing Satan? Montero, Call Me By Your Name is a track that was really riding off the back of the huge controversy that was attached to it. And fast forward 3 years later to 2024, and it's kind of a bit of a shame to see Lil Nas X try that same tactic again by using religious imagery and controversial things attached to religion to try and get another hit, and it didn't work this time. But at the time, 2021, when he did this, it was pretty novel and it was pretty surprising to see something like this happen, and the response was exactly what you would expect for such a controversial video. However, one of the things that people may have forgotten about is how good the song actually was. I mean, it's a very short song, but without the video, I still think this holds up really, really well. Really interesting how this is one of the really few openly gay like hit songs. Like when you think about it, a lot of gay artists over the years, you know, would write songs, but it wouldn't really be like specific to anything or any sort of thing. Like Elton John's, a lot of his songs aren't specifically about being gay, for example. George Michael, I guess Luther Vandross as well. Whereas this track is probably one of the first #1 singles to ever just be so openly gay, which is a pretty cool thing to see in the charts, to be honest with you. Kind of mad that it took us this long to get to this point. But yeah, Lil Nas X got a lot of character on this track, a lot of energy, a lot of heat coming out of him. And while some of the lyrics are pretty, you know, I still think the song is a really good one. The chorus is super memorable. Yeah, it's super short, but it sticks the landing for me. I think it's a great track. If you're someone like me that keeps up with music very closely, all kinds of music, all kinds of genres, then you were absolutely waiting for the day that Anderson .Paak would break big and have a massive hit. You knew it, we all knew it, we all had him on our lists of artists that were eventually going to be huge. It was inevitable. You can't have that much talent, you can't have that much style, that amount of charisma, that personality, that likability, that potential to play all kinds of instruments, to rap, to sing really well. Like, there was just no way he was just going to remain this pretty relatively small artist that had a pretty dedicated fan base. But the one thing he didn't quite have throughout the 2010s was the ability to just break through into the charts and make a hit. Well, 2021 comes around, and what do? What do? You pick one of the biggest hit makers around to collaborate with and create this new band called Silk Sonic. And the music nerds like me were jumping up and down in joy, because this was like the best thing ever at the time, man. It was wonderful to see these two come together and sound so frigging good. The moment that opening note hit, I was just so ready, man. I knew exactly what we were going to get. This throwback sound to the 70s, the era of soul. You know, you got your friggin' Marvin Gaye, you've got Al Green, Lily Moses, all these classic soul artists they were pulling from, and they nailed it so well. Yes, it's obviously pulling from that era. It could be considered a bit pastiche, I suppose you could say. But when you're doing it this well, when you have so much style to it, when you have so much chemistry between you both as well, and you're making these really, really well-produced, slick soul tracks like Leave the Door Open, it's going to be frigging good. And yeah, I'm all over it. It, of course, won a God knows how many Grammys. And I still to this day think if they'd not pulled the album from the potential winning Grammy voting thing, whatever they did, they basically were like, we don't want this album to be up for Album of the Year. They did that themselves, okay? This would have won. I'm telling you right now, it would not have been Jon Batiste. This was going to win. I am telling you, in a world where that didn't happen, I am 100% right. This was winning. This appeals to everything that the Grammys love. It already won a frigging God knows how many Grammys for just this one song at the 2021 Grammys. This was winning Album of the Year, man. They should have kept it in the running. It would have won. This is why hindsight is a wonderful thing for these videos, because this song at number 4 has really stood the test of time. It is still bouncing up and down in the UK charts. You see it still on the iTunes charts as well. Like, this has really, really stood the test of time. This is really sticking around, and I would not be surprised if in a few years we're still seeing it thereabouts on the charts, because it is just one of those songs that I think will live on. I'm not entirely sure how American audiences will be familiar with this, or if they will even know of what this song even is. But let me tell you right now, man, Sam Fender has something to him, and 17 Going Under is a monumental track. It's a career-defining track that most artists wouldn't have so early on, but he managed to do this pretty early on. This song feels like it's just already a staple of like British music to me. It sounds like a song that will just be in 10 years, you play it and people will know it immediately and be, so, you know, a song that just stands out in that kind of way. It just has classic written all over it, pulling from the Heartland rock days, the Bruce Springsteen classic days, the Tom Petty classic days, and making that into your own modern version, I think is really, really clever, and I think he pulls it off immaculately, to be honest with you. The vocal performance, particularly towards the end when the song really builds up and you hit those, whoa, it's really, really euphoric. It gives those chills in your spine. It's a wonderful track, man. 2021 was a bit of an odd year where we just had this minor mini comeback of artists just starting to do like this Heartland rock, Bruce Springsteen throwback thing. Bleachers did it, the Killers were doing it, and Sam Fender probably rose to the top and did it better than anyone else. 17 Going Under, guarantee you, man, 5 years from now, this will still be somewhere on the charts. It's going to be one that lives on. At number 3, we've got Industry Baby. After what I just said about Sam Fender, you'd think that was higher up, but honestly, no. There are a few tracks that I just absolutely adore that little bit more than 17 Going Under. And yeah, at the time, again, this probably wouldn't have been higher than Montero, Call Me By Your Name, but this has rose to the top for me as being Lil Nas X's best song. It's just a really, really ridiculously well-produced track. I think, is Kanye on this one? I think Kanye is involved in this one. You can absolutely hear the influence that his style of production would have on a track like this. It's very, very much huge, maximalist, massive horns that just blare, but they take over the instrumental really well. They take over the song really well. They create their own hook in their own way. And yeah, the chorus I think is fantastic from Nas here as well. The Jack Harlow feature, got to shout out Jack Harlow on this one, man. He really has a lot of cool and swag about him on that track. Probably more so than he ever has in his entire career. I think it's a really good collaboration, this one. Yeah, this is a number 3 for me. So you remember when I was talking about Taylor Swift being a massive artist in the 2010s, but somehow feeling even bigger than they were now than they were then, if that could even be possible? And yeah, it is possible. Well, this next artist is basically like the second one down from Taylor Swift, and that same logic applies there. They were massive in the 2010s, but today they feel bigger than they ever were. The Weeknd, Save Your Tears, is at number 2 for my 2021 best hit songs. What a song this is, Jesus Christ, just pulling from that 80s synthpop sound in such a delicate way. Like, you can tell that The Weeknd is really, really particular about his craft. And of course, there was no way that songs from After Hours just weren't going to be massive sensation hits. Of course, you had Blinding Lights, which was easily the biggest one, but Save Your Tears really wasn't massively far behind, because this one felt like you couldn't escape it. And even to this day, I still go about my day, go about my business, and I will hear this song somewhere because it is just so replayable. It really feels like he tapped into that 80s sound and managed to create something that feels like it's eternal, despite the fact that they're only a few years old now. But yeah, Save Your Tears, I've already gushed over this track on my top 10 Weeknd songs video that I did. So if you want to see me go in more detail, I'd click that video if I were you, to see what I really love about the song. The sample is really used well. The vocals are great. I'm not really that keen on the Ariana Grande addition to the track. I don't think it was necessary, but I do think it did help the song catapult into massive heights, even bigger heights probably than it would have gotten. But still, I'm talking about the original Save Your Tears here. That was a hit too. Yeah, it's great. And after all these songs that have a lot of meaning, a lot of weight behind them, you've got Taylor Swift, you've got Olivia Rodrigo, you've got Sam Fender, and many others that I've mentioned in this video. What could be number 1? What could top all of those? What could top The Weeknd Save Your Tears, which is a massive monumental moment in pop music for the 2020s? Well, for me, it's got to be this. I got you. Yeah, one of the rare times where the biggest song on Billboard for that particular year is my pop song of the year as well. Levitating by Dua Lipa. And similarly with The Weeknd, I want to disclose that this is the version without the feature. And yeah, the baby kind of kamikazed his entire career by saying ridiculously insane stuff, and really hasn't been able to make any hits the way he was doing since that moment. But even before that, I never liked the DaBaby version. I don't think he adds anything to the track, and I don't think there's any point in having him on here. But again, for the sake of making a song even bigger, perhaps it was necessary. But the Levitating that we heard on the Future Nostalgia version in 2020 was a song that has gripped me ever since, and is still to this day one of my favorite pop songs, honestly, of all time. This taps into so many things I really like about pop music. First of all, it's just ridiculously memorable and catchy. It's got a nice groove to it. The chorus stands out in a really, really simple way. But the things that make the song really stand out are those little claps in the verses that I think are really good too. I think Dua Lipa's vocal performance, although at the moment she seems to be getting a little bit of criticism for making the same song over and over again, which I don't hear, to be honest with you. I don't think this really sounds anything like Houdini, for example. To me, I still think she's up there with one of our best pop creators at the moment. And I think if we do her a disservice and start to bash her music and say it's all sounding the same, we are truly going to lose what is a one-of-a-kind pop singer at the moment. And I think if we allow her to keep doing what she's doing and to give her the time and space, all of these songs will be legendary in the future. Levitating being one of them as well. Just from the moment I heard this album, this was the standout one for me. It was one of my favourite songs of 2020, and to see it become that massive hit later on in 2021 was really great to see. Never got boring for me, never got old, despite the fact that this song has been overplayed to death at this point. I still hear it, still think it's excellent. And the build up to that last chorus is so good, where it goes, woo! Oh, that part is so good, man. So danceable, so fun. Got a bit of a disco element going on to it as well, but even still, it kind of surpasses all of those stereotypical pop cliches for me, and just becomes one of the most fun, exciting pop songs, honestly, of all time. I'm going as far to say that it is up there for me as one of the best of all time. And with that massive, bold statement I just made there about it being one of the best pop songs of all time, I'm going to leave it there. I am happy to have done this. I really had a good time recording this one. As I got into the groove of recording it and talking about these tracks and what I like about them, I just got more and more excited as the video went on. So yeah, it was really fun to do. So if you did like it, please leave a like, share it around, and then obviously let me know in the comments if you want to see me go further back as well. Next one could be 2020. Obviously I can do 2019, 2018, etc, etc. And yeah, if you want to see my lists continue, please let me know. Please check out more videos as well. Please check out my Patreon. That would be wonderful to see you support me over on there. That would be fantastic. And as always, have a good day. Oh, tell me in the comments what your 10 best songs of the year were from the 2021 in the comments. Obviously the popular songs, not your just general best songs of the year. I want to see the best popular songs of the year. Thank you. Tell me if you agree with my list or you disagree. Have a good day and goodbye. Subscribe. Woo! Goodbye.
My love is like a rocket watching blast off, and I'm feeling so electric, that's my heart.